Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Expendable Show. I'm your host, The Expendable. So, I'm not as prepared as I usually am because we had a really bad storm here in Georgia, like tornado warnings and everything. So, I didn't have power from like the time I woke up to go to the gym this morning. It was like, I think 5:30 is when the power went out. And we finally got it back on at like 3 something. So, I've been sitting around like waiting on my power to come on like all day. And so I'm not as prepared as I normally am, but we can make it through because there's pretty linking things that we're going to talk about today. But first, let's get down to business. If you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. That helps me grow and it helps me do more fun stuff to share with everyone. Let's start with my favorite story of the day. Right here. This is the sum up of all my excitement for the day. I've been flipping through TikTok all day. Every other video is America being awesome, beating up Canadians. So I'm sorry if you're Canadian and watch my show, Rob. I'm sorry. But Justin Trudeau was in the crowd. So for those of you who don't watch hockey, here's the thing. We have it's all-star break. So Canada does their all-star break a little bit different. So they pretty much make the all-stars based upon what countries are represented. So the United States, we've been out there beating everybody. Well, we were supposed to play Canada yesterday. And so what happened was Canada, this is their best. So this is like their all-star team. What's up, G-Bro? And so this is like our kind of good guys. Like it's not even our A-lister guys. But they went out there and, well, first, they played the Star Spangled Banner. Now, this is getting played in Montreal. So we get booed. The Star Spangled Banner gets booed by the Canadians. So that kind of set the tone to where a lot of these guys were pretty much like, okay, now you done made us mad. So they went out there, they dropped the puck for the opening puck drop, and fight started. And then they put everybody in the penalty box. They tried to start it again. Fight started. They did this 3 times. So there were 3 fights in this game within 9 seconds. So you're seeing America, Team America, basically fighting back, saying, okay, you're going to boo us. We're going to beat you. We're going to beat your ass. And then they turned around and they played the game and they won 3-1. So we knocked off a very good Canadian hockey team and beat them up. So, and if you watch the highlights, the Tkachuk brothers, which is Brody and Matthew, they were basically a wrecking crew. More so Matthew. Brody ended up getting hurt later in the game, but Matthew was out there putting big hits on, big checks into the board. I don't know if any of you follow hockey. I do a little bit. I'm a Detroit Red Wings fan. Just because I'm from Ohio and it's the closest. Growing up, we didn't have the Columbus Blue Jackets yet, so I've never really got into being a fan of them. So I've always been a Red Wings fan. Back when they had all the Russian guys and they were just beating everybody every single year. But the third guy was JT Miller. But the Tkachuk brothers, so their dad is infamous. He played for the Chicago Blackhawks back in the day, Keith, and he was rough and rowdy too. So I was a fan of his, and now his boys are out there representing the United States, and now you're seeing all the memes come out where they're just like making fun of this Canadian beatdown that they got on both ends. So it was pretty exciting to see, and it made me happy. Like I was proud, like to see these guys go out there and stand their ground, when they were in hostile territory getting booed. And I really enjoyed it. I thought that Team USA represented us very well. And they don't do their all-star games like how the pro football ones kind of turned into a flag football game. The NBA All-Star game is complete trash. Nobody plays defense at all. It's just a track meet up and down the court. and half the time everybody's getting wide open dunks the whole game. And and baseball's okay. They do play for home field advantage in the playoffs. I think they still do that. I don't remember, but they used to play the All-Star game. The winner, AL or NL, would get home field advantage during the playoffs. So you were riding on, some pretty high stakes there. However, hockey, they don't play. Hockey's the only ones that are getting it absolutely right. They go out there and they play hard. And I think it's impressive. I like how hockey does it. So kudos to hockey. Good job, whoever the commissioner is, of making this competitive at the All-Star break. Even good job to Canada. You guys fought hard. Your crowd did you dirty. That if they would have just shut up, it probably would have been a less physical game. But they had to pump up the crowd, and Justin Trudeau was in the crowd, so it made it even more bittersweet. He got to sit there and watch his countrymen get beat on. So yes, so there's my excitement for the day. That's my one time today that I'm going to cheer for violence. So you're probably going to think that this show is going to be, hey, there's Shauna. But you're probably going to think that this show is going to be very India-driven. And it is, mainly because everything that's happened in the last few days revolves around the country of India. And we'll talk about that, as we go. Let me get rid of my my hockey picture, which is really nice. That's right there. That's Keith Kachuk in the blue. Or not Keith, that's their dad. That's Brody, the one that got hurt. So I'm going to take that down. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, so DOGE found some more stuff. And we're going to go through that, and then we're going to talk about why it's significant. So $29 million was found to strengthen Bangladesh's political landscape. Okay, so Bangladesh is in India. Bangladesh is kind of the opposition party. There's a lot of liberalization there, and that's a problem. So if our government is funding the minority opposition to the ruling party in India, that appears to look like it's election interference. So that's something that we're going to look at here in a second. They also paid $21 million to an organization to get voters to turn out to those elections, mainly on the liberal side. So here we go, more money. So now we're up to $50 million that we have given the opposition party in India to try to overthrow the current, prime minister, which is Modi. Next, $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices for Cambodia. We have to make sure that the Cambodians are strong in their voices, whether it's singing or protesting or yelling at their kids, whatever it is that we're strengthening their voices for, we're going to pay for it. What are we doing in Cambodia? That makes 0 sense. Zero. So here's another one. $486 million. That's almost $500 million to the consortium for elections and political process strengthening in Moldova. Moldova. For those of you who don't know, Moldova is a former property of, I believe it's Russia and former Yugoslavia. I believe it's split, but I may be wrong. But Moldova is a tiny little country. I would be willing to bet that we could probably take $486 million and buy the whole country of Moldova. So I'm not sure why we're investing for their elections and their political process to be strengthened. Is that something like we don't The Democrats didn't even want to fund our political processes to be strengthened and our elections to be strengthened. So why would we go fund another country like Moldova, who barely has a decent population? I don't even think, I might have to look real quick, but I'm pretty sure they got a really low population. Not enough for $500 million. That's just absurd. So Moldova's population in 2024, 2.4 million people. Atlanta is bigger than the whole country of Moldova. So that's insane. That is insane. That's like, it's insanity. I can't even put words into the amount of insanity that is. Why are we giving 200% more, 2,000% more than what Moldova's population is? We would make everybody there a millionaire. It's absurd. So I'm willing to bet that when I go through all these in the next few days and I dig through them, I'm probably going to find, we shouldn't even be in those countries. That's right, Shauna. But I'm willing to bet we're going to find that money didn't go to Moldova. I'm willing to bet that it went to a nonprofit or a non-government organization. And then that money, once it was received there, it ended up somewhere else. So that's what they do. They disguise these things into, countries like Cambodia, Moldova, and we're going to talk about Nepal next. And they send them to these organizations that are based out of there, and then they funnel them somewhere else, probably to the Cayman Islands or somewhere like that. So next, $20 million for the fiscal federalism of Nepal. So Nepal got $20 million. Once again, why are we in Nepal? We have zero. Nepal's basically on a mountain. It's a mountain range. So why are we messing with that? Makes no sense. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. So a lot of these, what we're saying, Liberia. Can an American even touch the soil of Liberia? I don't think so. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Liberia is one of those countries that Americans can't go to. You guys can go ahead and fact check me on that. I might be wrong, but I feel like that is one of those countries that you can't really go and advertise that you're from America. They probably won't even accept your passport. So why are we in Liberia? But the common denominator here is they're donating the money that revolves around voting and voting systems and getting voter turnout and getting these countries' policies put together. I'm going to put all this together for you here in a second. $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in South Africa. If anybody knows anything about South Africa, Shauna, I know you know because we talked about it and you've brought up several things that you found out about South Africa. But they have a massive, basic race war going on in South Africa, where it had been basically an English colony for a long time. So there's a lot of white presence there. Hence, Elon Musk is from there. However, over time, the probably what I would consider to be the native people have retaken after Nelson Mandela was released. Nelson Mandela took over the government, and over time, since the passing of Nelson Mandela, because Nelson Mandela did come in and do some good things, but after that, the power struggle has gotten more and more violent there. So now we're seeing where people's rights are being taken and things like that, which I don't think that that's a good thing. I think South Africa has a lot of problems, and we talked about that last week with Shauna, to where we're giving all this money for their AIDS treatments, and it didn't quite make sense. It just seems like every time we turn around, we're giving a large sum of money to South Africa for what? Why are we giving money to countries that have a lot of instability going on? If we give them $10 million for AIDS treatment stuff, are these people that need these treatments even going to get that money? And that's some of the problems that we've talked about, and I've talked about it in depth with Shauna, is that a lot of these countries over there, they're so dysfunctional and divided amongst tribal people. They're always fighting for power. So a lot of that money just gets taken. And I've talked about it with one of my Guatemalan employees too. It's the same thing down in Central America. The United States gives all this money out and their politicians embezzle it. And then that money doesn't get sent anywhere good. It just makes the political people rich. So that's some of the stuff that we probably need to get in there and do some auditing. Is it going to happen? Countries like South Africa, Guatemala, El Salvador, it's going to be hard to do because the regime changes all the time. But I think it's something that we need to at least ask some questions. Next, $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Now, 2 points. Asia, if you look at the PISA charts, educational charts that I talk about all the time, which basically is a testing system that every kid, 5th grader and I think 9th grader gets. The Asian countries are all in the top 10. So why are we funding their education systems when we are outside of the top 20? Are we not funding our own education systems that are failing us? But we'll give this money to Asia, whose education systems are already good. Make that make sense. You can't. You will never be able to convince me that that money should have been allocated. And that's a nice hunk of money too. That's $47 million going to Asia for their education systems. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. Now, we're going to isolate this down to India because this morning I was on the news in India again for the Republic News, and which I've been promoted to senior journalist. Yay, me. I must be doing something good. Maybe I'll win a Pulitzer. Shauna, I need you to nominate me for a Pulitzer. Anyway, so there's a lot going on with India. Now, when I was on the news this morning in India, the anchor had asked me a series of questions involving the USAID's funding to the elections in India. And, obviously they give me the story ahead of time. So I generally do know what the questions are, and I'm generally prepared to answer those questions. Now, I don't know what the exact questions are, but I have a generalization. They send me a list of things that they could talk about. So I was already prepared for, the money side of things from USAID and the election interference. I was already working on covering that. So to me, their ruling party is planning on accusing the United States of election interference. So there is going to be a problem there. This has caused an international problem. And once India formally does it, you're going to see other countries do it too. Like Cambodia could, Nepal could, Liberia could. All these countries that have been receiving money that may or may not have received money. However, we've seen their countries fall apart as part of receiving this money. You could be seeing a lot of countries reach out to the United States saying, hey, why is your corrupt money funneling making it to my shore or making it to my border? That's a huge problem. And I like it for the simple fact, and this is how I explained it to them on the news segment this morning. I said, what's happened has happened. The money made it here. Now, what's going to happen because of it? Now, I look at this as in a positive outlook, because President Trump has gone through and he's exposed this. It's out in the open. Every country's reading it. Elon Musk is posting it all over his Twitter, his X account. And every time he posts something, he gets 70 million people look at it. So that's going to be, you're going to have international people reading it. Everybody all over the world is reading his post. So when he puts these out here, then they say, well, why was my country getting this money? And it's going to raise a lot of questions that the accountability part of our government is going to have to face itself. And I like that, because we need to get back into a system of global honesty. If we're going to, go America first, and then start to migrate ourselves back into the global economy, where let's say Trump spends his 4 years working on getting our government cleaned up. And he's already he's doing a great job. Now, after that, say J.D. Vance or whoever is going to be the Republican nominee after Trump's done. Now that person is going to have the opportunity to expand this newly based American government. And then we're going to be able to say, hey, where are our allies, our real allies, not these fake leeches that have been leeching off of us, hence Europe and the crown. I was told that I might not be yelling at the crown enough now, so I'm going to make fun of them more. England. We all know you're reptilians anyway. You guys aren't even human. So how you like that? But we know that we can start to branch out. Now, what does that branch out look like? What countries are going to be involved in that? That's yet to be seen. America could go in several different directions. I know Trump's talking about a trilateral with China and Russia, and I see India being a major part of that as well. Now, does that mean America joins BRICS? I don't think so. I think we're going to kind of remain, we're going to pull away from the United Nations eventually, and we're going to be our own entity, but we're going to partner probably with both groups on certain things. India's big concern is that we are able to neutralize China. They do not like China. They do business with China because they have to. Do they like to? No, they don't. A lot of people don't realize it, but China and India always have a standoff going on their border that they share. So they're concerned that we have, some kind of setup there where we're going to have India's back if China decides to do something ridiculous. I would think that President Trump would do that, or President Vance, or whoever the president is after all. Now, that's going to be good for America because India just made the deal in the tariff agreement with Trump that they would buy our F-35s. Now, that's the best fighter jet in the sky that we know of. And India is going to buy quite a few of them. So we're going to help arm India. There's other things that they're buying too, but that was part of the tariff deal. So the reciprocal tariffs are going to be there, but India has sweetened the pot and is buying some of our armaments. So that's going to be a good thing. That's going to create revenue for the United States. Now, we've gone through that. India is also accusing George Soros of meddling, that being the person that's actually orchestrating the meddling in their elections. So, as we know, George Soros is a problem here in the United States. A lot of people don't realize that George Soros is also banned from his own home country of Hungary. It's illegal for him to go to Russia. It's illegal for him to go to China. It's illegal for him to go to Pakistan. There's so many countries that George Soros is permanently banned from, because when he shows up on your soil, he causes problems in your country. And it's a proven fact. So many countries can back that statement up. And eventually I may do an entire dive on George Soros. I did it in my first book, From the Mouth. If you want to know everything there is to know about George Soros, about how he's admitted to funding the Palestinians, Hamas, and the Israelis to continue that war going on, which he funds it. He funds both sides. So he's a problem. He's a problem starter. and he's all about his Open Society Foundation that is the brainchild and the financier of all of the problems that we see in the world. Now, is George Soros the top of the pyramid? Absolutely not. There are bigger shitheads than him. George Soros is just the Darth Vader that we're blaming for everything, while Palpatine's up here, or Darth Sidious is weaving their web. So we have these issues with him, and India's showing some of the same problems. I think that's valid for them to have issues with. Now, when we're looking at furthering, I said this was going to be an India kind of talk. So Kash Patel, we're hoping we're going to get him confirmed as FBI director this week. We need him right now. There are several. So basically, how this works. So Pam Bondi is the district, or she's the U.S. attorney. She's the attorney general. She's the big dog. Attorney generals can have inquiries, but the charges have to come from the investigating agencies. So she's been sitting around waiting on Kash Patel to get confirmed so he can certify the FBI investigations into whatever it is they're investigating. Now, I see several major things happening that as soon as Patel gets put in there, you're going to start seeing these indictments coming out. He's going to pass the buck up to Pam Bondi, and she's going to start issuing indictments. I would like to think that we're going to see one heading towards Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, probably several of them, mainly because she made a video that told illegal immigrants how to avoid ICE detection. The border czar, Tom Homan, has been very clear that he's not going to put up with that. Kash Patel is probably also going to start looking into some of these money things. So Elon Musk can give his recommendations. That's all Elon Musk can do. So he can look into these things and investigate them, but then he's got to pass them off to somebody because he has no ruling authority to do very much of anything. He's just an auditor, a government contracted auditor. So he's going to pass these along to probably Kash Patel. And Kash Patel's going to look at them and see if investigate them further, and then pass them on to Pam Bondi to decide if there is a crime, if the elements of the crime exist. If they do, we'll see indictments. If they don't, they will probably pass them by. So that's kind of how that's going to work. Everybody's kind of waiting on Kash Patel. And this is what the Democrats are doing. They're buying the old FBI time to clean their house before Kash Patel gets in there and tears it all down. And then they're also buying time. There was a Google poll that came out where there's a huge spike in Washington, D.C. of people Googling for defense attorneys. Who lives in Washington, D.C.? Politicians. So politicians are now Googling defense attorneys. That's a good sign for America. Bad sign if you're corrupt. If you're not corrupt, you don't have anything to worry about. But if you've been taking money, you got something to worry about because the money trails are not hidden. They know them. It's not hard to find them. If average Joes like me and some of the other creators out there can find them, then the government surely can find them a lot faster. Now, big news for Ohio. So Ohio is where I'm originally from, and Northwest Ohio in a big farm community. But Ohio, so if you're from Ohio and you've had to deal with Mike DeWine for these last few years, you're probably tired of hearing him. And hello, Jenny Lynn. But you're probably tired of hearing Mike DeWine talk. When COVID came out and he was doing his little COVID update every day, he called it Wine with DeWine. And it fit because all the guy does is whine, and he's a complete, like him and Dr. Fauci could be brothers. That's how corny Mike DeWine is. He's a Republican, but he is like an anti-Trump Republican. So he kind of resisted a little bit, and he's the reason why J.D. Vance at first was an anti-Trumper, was because he listened to guys like Mike DeWine a little too much in Ohio, which J.D. Vance is from Ohio. But big news, announcing this weekend that he is officially going to run for governor is Vivek Ramaswamy. So he is probably going to win very easily as governor of Ohio. There's not really anything in the Democrat pool in Ohio. They've been getting beat left and right, with Sherrod Brown getting beat by Bernie Moreno in a very heavy Democrat Senate area. That's big. That's big. It tells you where Ohio is going. And in the last few presidential elections, Ohio is it's not a swing state anymore. It's turned completely red. So you're getting more and more Republican support out of Ohio. So that's a good sign for Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, at first, I thought it was going to be the lieutenant governor, John Husted, but when J.D. Vance was sworn in, they had to replace his Senate seat, and they did that with John Husted. So I'm okay with that. I like Husted. I thought he was going to be the next Ohio governor, but he took a role in the federal Congress. So now we're looking at Vivek Ramaswamy. This guy is going to be phenomenal for Ohio. Get ready. You're going to see innovative things. You're going to see Ohio get major job bids from probably a lot of overseas companies. They did get that, I'll give Biden a little bit of credit. He did bring that chip factory to Ohio. And however, I think we're going to see more of that. They need to get that off the ground a little more. But I see a lot of good things coming from Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm a big fan of his. At first, I wasn't sure of him. Me and my dad used to talk about it all the time. We don't know about this Vivek Ramaswamy. He's a little too slick. He's a little too good of a talker. When people say all the right things all the time, it does make you tend to doubt them a little bit. But as we've seen, Ramaswamy has shown immense amount of loyalty. Either he is a longevity con man, or he is actually in on the game plan, and I believe that he is. I think eventually Vivek Ramaswamy is probably going to be a heavy candidate for a presidential race in the near future. He's very bright. He knows his stuff, so we'll see what happens. Next, as most of you know, that I've been following and helping out with the Sachir Balaji case in San Francisco. There is an update to that I want to share. Like I said, this is going to be the India episode. So the San Francisco Police Department has officially closed the case. They are saying that there are no signs of struggle, that it is a suicide. So I'm going to reach out to his parents this week, to Sachir Balaji's parents, and we're going to find out if they're looking at any other options. It's going to be tough now, because it's going to basically take a new piece of evidence. And I don't think San Francisco is going to be honest and really give them any real look into anything. It's going to take a federal inquiry. And with Kash Patel still not being sworn in or still not being confirmed, it's going to be hard for them to get the justice for Sachir that they want, that I believe that he's due. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on that, and I'm going to put a little bit of work in this week on that case, and see if we can make some things happen. I don't agree with what I know as the private investigation that happened. I don't agree with the outcome, and with my own law enforcement background, that does not add up. I don't know what they're thinking out there in California. There's a lot more questions than there are answers. So I may even try to get his parents back on here to talk about it. They are, I'm sure they're going to want to talk about it. The bad thing is when the case is officially closed, you're probably going to see a lot of these media outlets are going to drop. They're going to drop the case and stop talking about it. So it's going to be an even bigger battle for his family. and that's unfortunate. I also want to bring something up. Shauna was she was just telling me about this a little bit ago, but there is a lady, and I can't remember what her name is, but she went all the way to Pakistan to marry this guy, right? Well, nobody was in agreement of this marriage, apparently. So they were telling her to go home. Well, she didn't go home. She got on the news. Somehow she got the Pakistani news to cover her somehow. I don't understand how this was breaking news at all. But they gave her a whole media outlet to talk about how the Pakistani government needs to give her X amount of thousands of dollars. So for all this and all that, she was trying to extort the government in Pakistan. I don't understand what this woman was doing, but then her son came out, who's in the United States, and he said, yeah, she's mentally ill. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's not on her medication. And so I think the Pakistani government was talking about getting her a psych evaluation. I had never heard if they actually went through with that, but she apparently was on a plane. Somebody bought her a plane ticket because she was out of money and had nobody there helping her. So finally, somebody gave her a plane ticket to fly back, and the news, she's disappeared in Dubai. So she's a missing person now. I saw that coming. Those people, like, Pakistan is not a place to screw around, for one. They are very, very aggressive with things. I'll leave it at that. I just heard a startling voice message from a certain journalist where they threatened to kill him. So, I mean, that's a place you don't want to go and start screwing around. They will make you disappear. And I'm sure they made a phone call and said, hey, as soon as this woman gets off this plane, get her out of here. She's a problem. So that's what happened. And I know we've gotten more international on things today. There really wasn't a whole lot going on in the United States, just the USA Canada hockey game, which I can't even express how pumped I am for that win. We went out there and just dog walked Canada. So sorry, Rob. I know. But you know what? It was exciting. If you're an American, you love seeing that, because we've been getting told we're a bunch of idiots from Canada for a while now. Now we got the breaking. So, and this isn't even our sport. Hockey's not even our national sport like it is Canada. Baseball is, and probably closer football is. So, it feels good to be a winner. And so I'm going to leave you with a quote from Shauna, since she can't be with us tonight. And she don't give a piss about nothing but the tag. But that's it for my show today. I'm out. Everybody be safe. Know where your kids are at. Watch out for the crazy people. Peace.